When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish,
the podcast that can't wait to see the remake of Taken, starring Paul Cezanne, who, of course, has a particular set of stills.
Oh, God. That's a deep cut, Kyle. Oh, man.
You have to know several things in a row to understand that.
Oh, shit. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And seriously, you just made a bunch of art history majors jizz themselves.
They were like, it was worth it. Finally. Today, we are going to talk about football.
Oh, God. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Mike.
You have to do all of this show just on your own.
I do?
Yes.
Why?
Because of the three of us, I think you're the only one that has unironically worn pads.
Wait, which way do you mean that? Because when I got my butt surgery, I also wore actual pads.
So did I. Oh, that's really great.
Good times. Good times. We should do an episode about, like, I don't know. I was going to say feminine products because that's what everyone fucking calls them, but they're not for females. Clearly, even cis men can use them because our butts were bleeding. Anyway, no, this is about football. Yes, I played football 1 year.
Yep.
And we're going to have some guests join us. They are another Seattle podcast called My Gay. What?
We didn't want to talk about football, so we got some lesbians.
We got some lesbians to talk about football. I'm actually kind of excited about that because you would think they'd be on to talk about softball. So we'll talk about those things too. But yeah, they do the podcast My Gay Life, and they're really awesome. We've been chatting with them for a while, so we'll have them on shortly.
But first? All right. Well, okay, so last week's Polari word of the week was Billy Do, and we got more feedback about that than most Polari words of the week.
Yeah.
I'm going to play a voicemail from a listener in Canada who wanted to help us out.
Hello, Gayish Podcast. This is Stephanie Medill calling from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I'm calling to help you a little bit with your French. Our billet doux, from which the term Billy Do arose, is French for love letter. Billet is a letter or a ticket or a short message, and doux means soft or sweet or not alcoholic or love. And so a billet doux is a love letter, and it seems pretty clear how somebody would mispronounce that, training it in English and turn it into Billy Do. Anyway, love the podcast. Bye-bye.
There was just something so legit about the way she said billet.
Yeah. Yeah, you say anything you want in an accent and we'll believe you.
Yeah. That was my advice to Tim Pearson, Tim in Alaska Tim, who was wondering what the best way was to cuss somebody out for not wearing their mask at the grocery store. And my suggestion was yell at them with a French accent because you'll sound ruder and classier at the same time.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. We need all the help we can get, kids. Are you ready for the news?
I am.
Okay, here we go. So
I don't have a news. I should have thought about a song.
Yeah, see,
baby, the news is gonna let me know that nothing is right here. Okay,
did you hear that the Free Britney movement got like a serious fucking smackdown this week?
No.
I didn't put this in the news, but I totally could have. Apparently, the court upheld her dad's conservatorship.
What the fuck?
And also said that he has the right to seal it from public scrutiny. So, like, it's actually a step backwards because now there will be even less transparency into what he's doing and why.
This is insane. I don't get it. What's going on? Why is she trapped? Imagine like one thing you did like so long ago.
One thing, Kyle.
Yeah, there was one head shaving and one umbrella incident, and that's the extent of it. But no, like one time in her life that like you can never get over. You're never allowed to move on from. Someone
That
controls you.
That one thing I did that was the whole year of 2011.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, right. No, I agree. Leave Brittany alone.
Well, set her free. If you love something, set it free.
All right, the actual news. Are you ready?
Okay, sure.
Okay, so London has something called the Outside Project, which is a grassroots organization that opened in 2018. Nope, sorry. They've been around for a while, but in 2018, they opened the first LGBT plus homeless shelter in the UK. And they have named their newest shelter after Marsha P. Johnson.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So they've opened a brand new LGBT plus domestic abuse refuge and named it for Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson. I guess it's both of them. It's the Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera's Star House is what they're calling it.
Because Star is the name of the place they opened after Stonewall to help trans people have a place to go.
Yep. So they're specifically calling it out because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Apparently, you know, especially for trans people, domestic abuse and domestic violence is a serious concern. And because quarantine has put us all indoors, some of us indoors with our abusers, there's a big need for a place for people to go, particularly queer people, very much particularly queer people of color. And so they're trying to, you know, fill that need. Why did that almost come out sexual? Okay.
Well, that sounds like it's like they wanted to buy gizmos, so we're filling that need. It sounds like a marketing transaction, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. 16% of trans women experienced domestic abuse last year, alongside 7.5% of cis women. And we need to talk about it more. We've got a whole bunch of shit going on, but we definitely have a lot of work to do in that department.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to see like the types of things the pandemic has exacerbated or brought to the forefront. And it sucks when you don't even think about like, wow, staying home sucks for everyone, but especially if, you know, you have to now live with someone who's abusive, you can't get away.
Yep. Well, okay, great. I was going to do these in a different order, but that was such an amazing segue. Here we go.
You're
More
welcome.
depression.
Oh, great.
This week, writing for the World Economic Forum, Amit Paley, the CEO of the Trevor Project, said that there has been a surge in the number of LGBT plus people reaching out about suicide prevention. They've had approximately double the usual number of contacts.
Damn.
All exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Quote, prior to the pandemic, LGBTQ youth have been found to be at significantly increased risk for depression, anxiety, and attempting suicide. And furthermore, young LGBTQ people already face disproportionate rates of unemployment and homelessness. It is clear that the widespread anxiety, physical distancing, and economic strain caused by COVID-19 have exacerbated these concerns and created new, unique problems for many of them.
Yeah, it's like that idea of like, if your home is a toxic environment, now you don't have your escape anymore.
Yep, that's absolutely true. And just like domestic abuse, there's a lot of people are trapped. They're just trapped.
Yeah.
Also, I think we've said it before on the show, but it bears repeating. Quote, according to the Trevor Project's research, young LGBTQ people who report having at least one accepting adult were 40% less likely to report a suicide attempt in the past year. For some, that accepting person could be simply a teacher, coach, or school counselor.
That number is one impressive, like to show how important it is to get support, but also kind of sad that it's like we just want one person. Like that shouldn't even, it should be given that there's at least one person in everyone's life that is supportive. But of course that's that's not a guarantee in this world. It's like such a low threshold to saving someone's life.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell a gay kid that they're awesome? I don't know.
Yes, okay, but you don't know who's gay, so every child you walk up to, you say, if you're gay, you're perfect, and then run away.
Great. News the last?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a Irish senator named Fintan Warfield, and he is a member of Sinn Féin, and apparently there is he's openly gay, and there was a picture going around on Instagram of him wearing a Speedo and a t-shirt that had a picture of Pope Francis on it, but sort of tied up, you know, like
BDSM style.
No, like here's my belly button style. But
the guy wearing it tied it up in the middle to make it have a little bow and make it cute.
Yeah, he is a senator, a gay senator in Ireland, and the socially conservative party Aontu,
with 4 question marks at the end.
Well, I don't know. Irish is so hard. Like you can't like there's no correlation between the letters you see and what's supposed to come out of your mouth. Like I don't know how they do it. But anyway, they picked up on this picture, which is actually several years old, apparently at least 2 years old. Anyway, saying, quote, "Why is a Sinn Féin senator purposely seeking to offend people's religious beliefs?"
Right.
Yeah. And so then there's, of course, big backlash from the rest of Twitter saying, like, the only reason you're saying this is because he's gay. Mm-hmm. Like, other people could wear that T-shirt and it would be fine. You think because he's wearing that T-shirt and because he's gay, that means it's a targeted attack on your religion.
Yeah. Man, they just want everything to be about them.
Yeah. Yep. Twitter user Stephen Todd tweeted, quote, "The attacks on Fintan Warfield are founded in blatant homophobia. Nothing more, nothing less. One of the most inspiring young men I know." Social Democrat counselor Owen Hanley tweeted, quote, "Fintan Warfield is sound, takes on being a public figure without conforming, and doesn't deserve the tar being flung at him. Can the homophobes get a new hobby?"
Tar being flung at him, that's jizz, right?
Yeah, if he's lucky. Yeah, I just the other thing is he's incredibly attractive in my opinion.
Oh. So it worked for him?
So it worked. Yes.
In my mind, he looks like Archer when Archer pretends to be gay and dyes his hair blonde. This is what I'm picturing in my head.
Okay, well, I don't want to ruin that little picture for you. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of an ongoing series of topics that I've been bringing up lately, where like we assume that it's just the United States where shit is fucked, and that there are all of these like liberal utopias where shit is not fucked.
Oh,
and shit is fucked there.
Yeah, let's spread the tar around.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone has to wade through it. I just think it's insane. Like this just reminds me of when people brought up Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like she danced in this video or whatever, and she's spinning her hair under. Like I just think at some point, like as people age out, that's a nice way of saying dying, right? As people get older, like everyone has pictures of everything. There will absolutely be a picture of every single senator and congressperson of them being a normal person. And you just have to fucking get over that people were people before they were in politics. Yep.
And it's okay, here we go. Goddamn fucking Republicans are the snowflakes. Like to have the meltdown over Obama wearing a tan suit, like, and yet their guy can grab him by the pussy. I don't fucking understand the amount of mental gymnastics necessary to be just how they are is fucking offensive.
I will also say, I don't want to say that it's like Democrats and Republicans are equivalent to this, because they absolutely are not. I do see often Democrats, particularly when they're trying to disparage Trump and particularly Melania Trump, talking about her history posing nude as a thing against her and using, really like shitty language about women, that it's just like, find other shitty things about her, because I don't care if you pose nude. Like, that should not disqualify you. What should disqualify you is not having experience, saying you're against bullying, but not doing anything about it. Like, but there's a bunch of shitty things you can find.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. There's part of me that wants to talk about it feeding the narrative that Trump only cares about appearances, and that he throws his wives away to pick up newer, hotter ones.
Sure.
There's part of it there that isn't actually about her. It's about him and how he treats women.
Yeah. Yeah. We should absolutely talk about that and focus on that, but it has nothing to do with photo shoot she did.
Yeah. In fact, we'll see what happens if she divorces him or he dies. And we see how she reacts to that. She might be pulling off the longest con in history, man. She might just
man, maybe he'll die and then she'll divorce him.
Oh God, please, God, for Christmas. That's all I want. All right. That's the news. Well, I want to thank Patreon members, Chris Hubbard. Do we know him? Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
We used to work together, and now you had to beep that.
Or did I? Are we entering a new era of transparency? No, we're not. Sergio Garza, Chris Roberts, Tom Mollum, and Ben Schwartz. So thank you to all of our Patreon members. If you want bonus episodes, content, and shit, the last bonus segment we did was for sexting tips, in which we disagreed with most of the internet's sexting tips. And Mike really laid the law down. But you can go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast. And
wait, I think I was drunk when we recorded that. It's going to be fun to hear again for the first
time. Yeah, it was good. So thanks to everyone who supports us.
Yeah, thank you. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about football?
Let's talk about football. Oh, wait. No, never mind. Cut that. I was going to talk about the happy hour, but it's too late. The happy hour will have happened.
Oh, got it.
We will have had eaten ass.
the past, blue, present, perfect, or whatever you.
Let's talk about football.
We had a blast at the happy hour. We will have had a blast at the happy hour. Yeah. Okay. Football. You said
football.
I'm the most knowledgeable about football, or at least the only one to have played. Yeah, I played in 7th grade, and I felt.
I don't want to embarrass you, but I do want to ask: Were you a big kid as a 7th grader?
I was always taller. Dude. Yeah, I was always taller, which is why everyone tried to get me to play basketball, and when I did, I sucked. But I kept making the team because I was tall. Everyone, this is one of those things I always talk about, people equating me being tall or having broad shoulders with being straight. And I think that's the step that I'm taking of oh, you're tall? Do you play basketball? You must be good at sports, which is all these assumptions about masculinity, which, I played football in 7th grade because a lot of, obviously growing up in Texas, a lot of my, not close friends, but a lot of people I knew played football in outside leagues, before, we could play for school. And I was just I want to know how that is. And so I opted to sign up, and I did that. And then I hated it. And like many sports, I was so bad. I was a tight end, and I just pushed. I was just supposed to.
Sorry, you still are.
Thank you. All I knew what to do was no. Sorry. I got distracted by the sexual, implication of I was a defensive end, which is the tight end of the defense, I think.
Great. Okay.
All I knew is I was supposed to run forward and push the guy in front of me.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I hated it, and so I quit And I was one of the few people, like, the coaches got this group of like maybe 20 guys that were all planning on quitting football together at like after PE once. And we're like, we think you all should stay. And in my head, I was like, fuck no. Like, this absolutely not. I fucking hated it so hard.
Yeah. Well, so my uncle, my dad's brother, I forget how much I've talked about him on the show before or not, but he's in this weird space of like, he was young enough. He was much younger than my dad. In fact, we're equally spaced. My dad and uncle were 13 years apart, and my uncle and I were 13 years apart. So I remember him being in high school. I was really little, but I remember it. Anyway, he broke his femur in high school. And I
think when it's dudes, they call it a hemer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But like really, really, really fucked his leg up, like real bad. And that led to, I think my mom and dad both were sort of pressuring me not to play football, which I was fine with. But my brothers both played. They sort of wore them down. They really wanted to. And like, if there's any sign that there's like a correlation of being gay and being into sports or not, that's the perfect example. Because I was like, oh, too bad I can't play football because of Uncle Jim's leg. But then, you know, Martin and Matthew were like, please, can we play? Please, can we? Please, please let us. And then they did. So they both played high school ball.
I think I was similar in that I did sports, but then like quit by my freshman. Like the last sport I did was cross country my freshman year of high school. But my brother kept going. He played football and soccer. He ended up being the team captain for soccer. And so it was like very clear that, you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to go over here to this band world because I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the only good thing about football was, you know, the pads and the like outfit. You get to vada some Fabulosa Harris in some strides that let me Arthur later.
Yeah, you do. Polari word of the week. I don't know what you said, but
I decided this time is going to be a little bit different for the Polari of the week. Maybe I put together lots of words we've learned already into a sentence so that we can refresh and remind.
You said vada some Bona Harris? Is that what you said?
Vada some Fabulosa Harris.
So see some amazing ass.
Yep. In strides.
In pants.
In pants. And Arthur later.
And jack off later.
Exactly.
That's fantastic, Kyle.
Oh, thank you.
We're like a phrase book now.
We've moved on to the part of Duolingo where you have to like put the words together. Like, this lady is holding an apple. It's like the dumbest, like the weirdest things. Like, she planted an apple in the ground, and you're like, that's not a phrase. Duolingo.
Yeah.
Go to
so
Duolingo.
Football lets you vada some Fabulosa Harris in strides, so that you can Arthur later. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's a lot. You covered like 6 weeks of Polari.
Yeah. Why would we do them one at a time? Let's just do them all at once, I said on Grindr.
Talking about football.
The worst part was the helmet. And I don't know what it was, but the helmet gave me like, my neck hurt so bad. And I don't understand it. That was like honestly one of the worst parts about it is it hurt so much. And eventually I the fact that I would go up to a coach and ask or say anything, it was rare because I didn't do that. But like I went up to the coach and asked if I could take off my helmet. That was usually not allowed. Because it hurt so fucking much. And I don't know why. I want to say just a few things before we have our guests on.
Sure.
I looked up just not like studies, but I was just trying to find what are some numbers that are out there about lesbians in women's sports. So what I found, just a few things in the WNBA.
Yes, they exist. Yes.
Well, yes.
That's the thing.
We know that there are far more out lesbian players in women's sports than out gay men in men's sports. They seem to be ahead of that. But in the WNBA All-Star team. 32% of them, which is 7 of them, were publicly out. That was as of 2018.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's so many.
Yeah. So like, and I doubt that a third of the entire, WNBA is out, but the fact that a third of them roughly are amazing enough to be on the All-Star team and presumably overrepresented is.
Don't fuck with lesbians, man.
Don't fuck with lesbians when they're dribbling.
No.
I don't know. In the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup, out of 24 teams, 40 people were LGB people, 38 players, 1 coach, and 1 trainer. And the interesting thing is when I looked up softball, I was like, surely there'll be a number there. I could not. All I could find there were 4 out players on the big list on Wikipedia of like, here's all the homosexuals. Oh my God. I just realized like we don't have to worry about privately tracking gay people to like hunt them down. It's just on Wikipedia. Do you think Wikipedia was invented by McCarthy?
Subdue
the homosexuals?
Well, I was thinking like we tried to be on Wikipedia and they shut us down. Like, yeah, we're trying. Please track us, and they're like, "Nah, we're good, thanks."
Let's give you. Here's all the data. Yeah, when if the FBI is like, "Nah, I don't need to track your data. No, thanks." That means you're just really not interesting because they love tracking people. Okay, yeah, I could only find 4 out softball players, but interestingly, when I looked up articles about softball, mostly what they were saying is like women try extra hard to, because it's the stereotype, women have to try extra hard to not come off as lesbian. So they'll like, they'll work overtime and like present even more femme or, try to be like really adamant that they're not lesbians just to combat the stereotype. So that was most of the articles I found when I looked up that part. So it was like very interesting, given stereotypes and assumptions about softball.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, when I think lesbians, I definitely think softball.
Yeah, like that's for sure a stereotype, and it'll be interesting to talk more about softball and football and women's sports.
Yeah. Also, there are all of those girls that play football in high school now, and I automatically assume that they're lesbians also, and I know that's not fair, but it's definitely in my thinking process.
Yeah, I think anything that presents more masculine, it's that idea of like if it's a woman doing something masculine, it's lesbian, quote unquote masculine. If it's a man doing something quote unquote feminine, it's gay.
Yeah.
When it's just like people like shit. People like doing shit.
Yeah. And some people don't like doing shit. Like,
man,
you go for it.
That's me. Hello.
So when we get back from the break, we are going to have Cyndi Butz-Houghton from My Gay Life, and we're going to talk more about football.
Yeah.
So should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a 1, 2, 3, break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back. It was halftime. We got some concessions, and now we're back.
Oh, those like ice things that you pour, like what are those that you pour like
snow
sugar
cones?
Water on? The snow cones, yeah, but they're in like triangle cups. They were like so weird back in the day. Anyway,
so we're here with Cyndi Butz-Houghton of the My Gay Life podcast. Cyndi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're glad you're here in like this weird COVID world where we're all in the same city, but we're in 4 different houses.
Yes, I was hoping to be, sitting on a couch next to you guys, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Not in the cards yet, but what is in the cards is talking about football.
My favorite topic.
Before we get into football, though, could you maybe tell us a little bit about your show, My Gay Life, and what y'all do over there?
Absolutely. So I have a co-host. Her name is Becca, and she is not with us today, but she will join in on our end of the podcast with some commenting. And we've been doing this for probably about a little over 2 years. We basically just had the idea to get together and talk about our life. And as 2 lesbians, it is a gay life. We are not together, though my wife's name is Becky. So there is a little confusion sometimes. So we just thought it would be fun to have guests and just kind of put a little podcast out there talking about things that interest us. Whether the guests are gay or not does not matter to us. We love everybody. So
but you prefer gays, right?
We
Right,
do.
the gay ones are better.
Well,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Come on. But we'll take who we can get, right?
That's the gayest thing I've heard.
You're welcome.
Well, that's actually good. You and Becca met by playing football. Is that right?
We sure did. I was her coach.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I played for about 9 years. And then she came along when I started coaching. So I was her coach for a couple of years.
So when you say played, is that like school, or is that like a club in the community? What is that? What organization is that?
Well, I've been in football for 20 years and we've had very different titles. So we used to be called semi-pro, though we've never been paid to play. So I don't know how they got away with the semi-pro title. We don't like to call ourselves a rec league because we are a little bit above a rec league. So we do call ourselves pro, semi-pro, but there's a little line there because we actually pay to play. So yeah. But it's not a school league. It's adults in their everyday life playing tackle football, women playing tackle football. And we are fully clothed, not in our underwear.
Is that a common question you get?
That's the only question I get when I play football. Oh, you play in the lingerie league?
Oh, God.
No.
If it helps, that was not one of the bullet points on my list to talk to you about. That didn't even cross my mind.
Well, good.
That's the gayest thing about me.
You are now my favorite.
Yes.
Is that a Seattle thing then, or is it multiple cities?
Oh, it's all over the country. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Is it international also, or just the U.S.?
I was just going to say it is international. Our league obviously is the U.S. only. Even though I retired from playing in the league, I do go back every year and play in the Women's World Games, which is once a year. It's 1 week, and it's women from all over the world playing American football, which is phenomenal because I think the last time they had 17 countries and over 240 people. So to think, and not all of them spoke English, but when you're on the field, man, you speak the same language on the field, which is kind of amazing. So it was a great experience. And to see it take off all over the world is kind of amazing because it is American football and it's not taken off everywhere, but some places like Japan, it's intense. And Australia, whoo,
wow.
I might move there just to play football. I mean, I won't because I'm old, so I won't do that.
Any sort of sense of like what percentage of that population is queer?
If I had to guess, and this is just me being in it for so long, I would say at least 85% is queer.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's pretty big. And I will tell you a fun fact. Every year that I've played or coached, and this is 20 years now, somebody comes out. At least one comes out every time.
That's great.
And do you think they were kind of on that direction already, or do you think like being in the football team contributes to that?
Does football make you gay?
Does football make you gay is really what I want to get to.
I don't want to make any broad statements here. See what I did there? Any broad statements? All day long, guys, all day.
Great.
I think it's people find that they're not alone and they have a community around them, and it makes them feel comfortable enough to say, it's okay for me. I feel safe now. Because even if they feel rejected in their life at home or at work, they have a community of football players that will not reject them. So they have a family forever.
So it is.
That's pretty profound. I like that.
I know. Yeah. We should just end there. That's going to be the best thing any of us says all day.
Hopefully we recorded that.
Hopefully we got that.
So it's interesting because when we talk about stereotypes, some we can disprove and some we can confirm. And this to me confirms the stereotype that women are more likely to play at least football than, especially compared to men's leagues where there's, the first or second person coming out in a lot of different leagues.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's not a lot of pressure on the women to have to maintain a contract or a sponsorship or a fan base. I mean, you are who you are on that football field, and we're just playing a game that we love.
Well, that's interesting to think about why it could be. And so do you think those aspects are why people are more likely to come out or be out?
I think so, yeah. That's just my opinion, though.
Interesting.
So as somebody who just doesn't get it, I just don't get it. But
wait, you don't get what specifically, Mike?
Let me finish my question,
Cool.
Kyle. As somebody who just doesn't get it, what attracts you to the sport of football? Like what just draws you in?
Well, I mean, I watched football when I was 5 years old, and I could sit with my mom and I could tell you what the plays meant. I knew who everybody was on the field and what they were doing at 5 or 6 years old. I loved football from a very early age. When I got into playing it, I mean, it pushes you physically to things you never thought you could do. And then once you do them, like throwing your body at somebody else to knock them over, once you do that, you don't want to stop. That's an amazing, powerful feeling. But there's just so much strategy. I love to play defense because I like trying to figure out the offense. There's so much strategy on the field, faking people out mentally and physically. And that just attracts me to it. And you can't be a one-person team. You have to be 11 people at a time. So to have to bring 11 people together to do one thing, I just think that that's interesting. When you take the sport out of it and just look at it from that standpoint, I think it's so fascinating that we're able to do that every year.
Kyle and Dan, when was the last time you brought together 11 dudes to do one thing?
Probably this week.
Yes. Nice. Congratulations, sir.
Congrats.
When you first started, like when you were initially like you knew everything about football, you know all the players. Did you get any either blowback or resistance or judgment for doing that?
Yes. But from my family, no. My mom taught me how to throw a football. I mean, football in my family was huge. I used to she bought me a football uniform for Christmas when I was 7 years old, and I would just sit around the house in a football uniform with a helmet on. That's just who I was. That was part of me.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you. Nobody wanted to play because I didn't have any female friends that wanted to play football, and the boys didn't really want me to play with them until I threw a football, and then they wanted me on their team. So, but I tried to play in high school, and my high school was not ready for it. So I did not get to play in high school, and I didn't.
You wanted to be on the men's team?
Yeah.
What part of the country was your high school?
Southern Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And we're
Interesting.
talking early 90s. I graduated high school in 93. So early 90s, we just weren't there yet. And then when I graduated and I went into the professional world and I found a team, I thought this is the best thing in the world. And it was. It has been.
When did you come out then? I'm curious how that aligned with your football interests. If it was just like everyone was like, oh, okay, we've got a little lesbian here.
Well, I bet you that's what my mom was like. She was just waiting for me. She was waiting for me to say it, but I didn't come out till college, my senior year of college. So it took me a while, but my mom was not surprised at all. She said, well, it's about time. Now take me to a Melissa Etheridge concert because that's what we did. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I noticed in your signature, your title is CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about that. That sounds you're super fancy.
I'm super fancy. I am a volunteer CEO. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's no money in women's football right now, but I have been the CEO of the Majestics for 4 years. And it's one of the best things I do, and it's one of the hardest things I do. One, I don't get paid. So I'm basically working another full-time job without getting paid, but it's for football. And I love football, and I love these players, and to be there for them, someone who's been through what they're going through. So I understand, struggling to find the money and then waking up the next day and being so sore, but you still have to go to work, but you still want to play football. I've been through all of it. So I just want to guide them through football and give them whatever they need out of it, because some of them come to football for so many different reasons. And I just want to be able to have them grow in that atmosphere the way that they need to. And at the same time, work with the league to try to get us on the map so we can make money doing this.
Yeah. What do you think is holding you back from being a professional league that gets paid, that, has an audience? And
well, the first thing is there's women playing in their underwear, and that's what everybody wants to see. So they get paid to play.
They do?
Dramatic pause. Yeah. That does not help the women who are really playing real football actually get out there, because there's an underwear league. Let me see what they're doing. That's holding us back. But I think in general, it's just not something society is ready for yet. We are definitely getting there. You know, I'm friends with Katie Sowers, who coaches for the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm friends with women who are actually making strides in the NFL to get there. We don't want to play with the NFL. We just want to play in our own league. We want to be like the WNBA. We want to get respected and get paid to do what we love.
Yeah. Speaking of the WNBA, I forget who it was, but I was reading something about one of the players who, after leaving the WNBA, I think was straight and was like 98% of the women are lesbians and it was a difficult environment or like surely some tragic bullshit. But given so many of the women are lesbians, I'm curious what you hear from the straight players.
I will tell you that from the straight players that I've associated with, they become extremely protective of us and they become our greatest allies and they absolutely love us as a family. I have not had that experience with the women that I've spoken to. It's one big family, gay or straight. They just love each other so much. And some days hate each other because it is like a family. But they're so protective of us and they just want us to be treated fairly.
That's so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about, when we look at women in male sports or traditionally male sports, it seems like the conversation eventually leads to the controversy of trans athletes and level of acceptance depending on, which gender they identify as and where they are medically in that transition. Like, can you speak to that in your league in football? Do you have trans players? Is that controversial? I'm curious.
Yes. We do have trans players, and yes, it is controversial. It's been probably the most controversial thing that we've had to deal with. Women's football right now, I can tell you there's about 4 leagues in this country, which also makes it very confusing. People don't know who to follow or where to find anybody. But the leagues come and go. They fail because they're not ready. They lose money. You need someone that can come in with money and a business plan. And usually they come in with money with no business plan, and then they fail. So then the teams jump to a different league. So it's been very confusing. But every league has different guidelines, and the trans guidelines are always the hardest ones to defend, really. And basically we try to follow what the Olympic Committee follows. You have to be, you have to have transitioned for at least 2 to 3 years. Transitioning female to male takes you out of playing women's football because you are choosing to be a male, so you can't play in a female game. But when you transition from male to female, you can play because you are identifying as a female and it's a women's league. So there's a lot of controversy around it. There's also a lot of females that are very masculine just by nature. And that causes a lot of controversy because then any team who suspects a player is not female can have that person tested and take that other team to court. You have that right to do that. So if you have a female player that has a little bit more facial hair and you're playing against them and they played a really good game and you think, oh, maybe they're not a woman, you can go to the team and say, I want you to test that player.
That seems very, I don't know. That's
very controversial.
Yeah, that seems like.
I assume it's happened. The fact that it's a thing and you're talking about it means that it has happened.
Oh, it has happened. Yes. Yes. To me or to my team, no. But in a league that I have played for, yes, it has happened.
That feels similar to like the guidelines that I know the Trump administration put out around like, here's what to look for when you're looking like to look for trans people. And it's just this terrible like assumptions or yeah, you're right. Like more masculine presenting cis women could, I don't know, that feels weird. And I don't feel like I like that approach.
And we don't either. And which is why our team has never challenged, because it's not fair. Everybody is built differently. You have to accept that, right? If a team has somebody on their roster on a women's football, in a women's football league, I trust that team knows what they're doing and they're not going to put a man on the roster. It's that simple for me. So, but it is out there. It is a rule and you can absolutely do it.
Have there ever been times where there has been a cis male on a team that was put on a team?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Because the person that I know that was tested was a woman. So the team that actually had her tested was wrong. She's just a very masculine woman.
That's what it like. That also feels like the bathroom bills where it's like, one, this doesn't actually happen. So, I don't know why we're so worried about it. And then two, like a lot of cis women end up being like attacked because people just make assumptions about like based on how they look. And so it's like, it's not just trans people then that get targeted. Which
true.
is,
So how do you, how have you been planning for COVID and the change that's happened to sports? And what is your league doing? What does your future look like?
Yeah, well, how do you plan for that? We were not ready. We were in the middle of practice. We don't start our games until April. Our games run April through June. So we shut down right before our season started. So we did not have a season, which is fine. We kind of knew that was going to happen. But now the problem with next season is, one, you see the NBA bubbling off. Well, we can't do that. We have jobs, we have families. We're not getting paid to play the game. So we can't go in a bubble to play our game. And it's not like baseball. I mean, you're in constant contact with other people. So it's not like you can avoid anybody. And the other hard part is that a lot of our coaches are high school football coaches. So they're pushing high school seasons now from the fall to spring, which is when we play. So if we were to go back right now, I would probably be the only coach on the staff because I don't coach high school football. And I'm talking about a staff of 8 coaches. I would lose 7 coaches to high school football. So that would be very difficult.
Wow.
So we're not the only team in this situation, and we just can't do anything about it. We're kind of the low end of the ladder when it comes to anything. And that's the frustrating part too. Even trying to rent a field to practice on, we use high school fields. But if there's a track meet or a soccer game, we get kicked off constantly. So we'll show up and not have a field to practice on and have to go find a dirt field somewhere. So people aren't thinking about women's football. Only women football players are.
And are women football players then thinking about the NFL? Like, is it insular, or are you all also NFL fans?
Oh, I wouldn't say all, majority NFL fans. Yeah. A lot of college football fans. There's a lot of Husky fans around here. I'm not from Seattle, so I was surprised to see such loyalty to our university.
If you're from Maryland, are you a Patriots fan then?
No, I'm a Washington football team fan.
Okay. Yeah, that's a controversy we should talk about.
That was very specifically phrased.
Yes. I grew up being a Washington football fan. And I'm happy about the name change. It's a long time coming. They needed to do that. So I'm glad they are.
Side note, Mike, way to go on all the football chat. You named several teams based on location. That was so good.
Well, in fairness, the Patriots are Massachusetts, so
I was off by
a little off.
Oh,
a few hours.
Suck it, Mike.
Yeah.
But still good.
What about softball? We talked a little bit about softball. That is the big assumption, especially for women's sports, that lesbians play softball. So I'm curious to get your take on that.
I'm probably the one lesbian who can't play softball. I'm horrible. I played every other sport that you can imagine: soccer, basketball, lacrosse, football, softball. No, thank you. I cannot hit that ball. But yeah, I have a lot of friends that are softball players and lesbians. It is a huge lesbian community. I would almost say they probably are a bigger community than football, to be honest.
Interesting.
I don't know what it is. I'm also a horrible golfer, which is another stereotype. I go to a driving range and I hit everything I have and the ball lands 3 inches in front of me. And then I get yelled at because I go pick up the ball. I'm like, well, it's right there. I'm putting it back in my bucket. But yeah, two things I cannot do.
Do you get any judgment from the especially lesbian sports community for those?
I'm sure I do.
Oh, at least not to your face.
Not to my face, because I played football, remember?
Oh, yep. So you're tougher than all of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be hiding now because afraid who's going to show up. But no, I'm sure I get judged because everybody wants a good lesbian on their softball team, and they're like, "Oh, pick her. She's athletic." No, don't do it.
Before you came on, we were talking about how there are some. I've read a few articles about softball and some women, because of the stereotype, trying extra hard to be more femme presenting makeup with her hair, like to try to be like, no, I'm straight. I'm curious how that, if you see that in football, are there people who want to show everyone, nope, I am not a lesbian, I am straight?
You know, it's interesting because I don't know if it's that they don't want to be perceived as a lesbian, but there are a lot of football players that put makeup on, the straight ones put makeup on before a game. And I used to have that when I played college basketball. Before a game, there were 2 straight girls that would just put tons of makeup on right before the game. I don't know why. I ask them, I'm like, do you realize you're going to sweat all that off and it's just going to look horrible in the end? Well, there's always that chance I'm going to get my picture taken before I put my helmet on. Or not, but okay. It makes them feel more like themselves. And if that's what they need to do, great. I feel like you're wasting a little bit of money with all that makeup you're putting on. It's going to come right off. But I do see that a lot in sports and it is always the straight girls. Maybe that's just by chance that are always putting the makeup on.
What about in the locker room? Is there weird locker room vibes?
I think every locker room is weird. You always have the ones that don't care and just run around. They'll take anything off and run around and get in the shower, do whatever. And then you have the group that has to go into the stall to change because they're so shy about it. And then you have the group that has to go into another bathroom to even go to the bathroom because they're so shy about it. Every locker room is strange. But you just have to respect all the differences. And I think once you show that respect, it's a fine atmosphere to be in, but it's definitely awkward.
Yeah.
Just locker rooms strike fear into my heart. It's just,
oh, I'm so sorry.
It's a lifetime of just super duper uncomfortableness.
Don't look. Be cool. I was one of the ones that went into the disabled showers so I could close the curtain instead of like the big group showers because I was always very uncomfortable. Yeah. Locker rooms make me uncomfortable.
So walk me through. You said that your league is pro, semi-pro. That like as far as skill level is concerned, it sounds like there's a pretty high bar there. Is there an entry point for a woman that wanted to start playing football for the first time? How might they gain access to the sport? Like, what do they do?
If a team is lucky enough to have enough people, they'll have a practice squad. But all the teams will have enough. They have enough coaches that you can come on to any team. Every year we have a player who has never played football, who's never even heard of football. They just wanted to try it. And every year we've had somebody who's played for 6 or 10 years. So you have to find the balance of starting from scratch every year for the people who don't have the knowledge, but still enhancing the skills of the ones that have been doing it for so long. Women's football welcomes all levels. And like I said, if we're lucky enough, we'll have a practice squad. So the newbies will get a chance to play and learn it at their level, at their speed before we throw them into a game. But inevitably, we'll start a season with 40, 50 women. And by the time we play our first game, we're down to 25, 30. And that could be financial reasons. That could be work reasons. That could be people have moved. That could be because when you put the padding on and you lay your first hit, it doesn't always feel good to some people and they don't want to do it. So women's football is very welcoming for every level. And because we don't have women's teams growing up, you can't start in high school and college and get the skills that you need. You kind of have to welcome everybody who's ready to play. And that's what the Women's League is all about. But we want to be able to compete at a high level. So we have to get you up to speed pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the finances of it. How much does it cost to play women's football if you're starting from absolute scratch?
You mean for a team or for a player?
For a player, like as a barrier to entry, like I assume you have a shitload of equipment that you have to buy, et cetera. Like how much does it cost?
Well, to play in the league, any team can range between $500 to $1,000 a season just for you to be able to play on the team. And then, of course, like you said, you have to buy the equipment. So you need shoulder pads, helmets, cleats. None of that is cheap. It's like hundreds of dollars. So you could easily spend about $600 in new equipment. Can you buy some used? Absolutely. Do you want to buy a used helmet? Probably not. So you have to put a good chunk up front to play this game. And you might as well invest for a couple of years because you've put that money out there.
Wow. So it sounds like it could end up being 1,000 to 2,000, like with all the expenses together.
Easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of money to get hit by other people.
Yeah. And yet I loved it. I loved it.
So something I know that it's been a controversy in the NFL. I'm curious what you and your league think about it is CTE. Like if you're doing full contact, then you have to have chronic traumatic encephalopathy in your zone of concern. What does your league do to detect, manage, compensate for that phenomenon?
Well, we require that our coaches get concussion training, first of all. So you know how to recognize it and get the players off the field if it happens. We teach heads up football, where you tackle with your head to the side. You know, back in the day, the guys used to tackle with their helmets and they used to go straight into the chest with their heads. So of course there's going to be some brain damage there. So now we're teaching a new way of tackling where your head's off to the side. Now, accidents happen, bodies fly all over the place, and things are going to hit your head. The helmets are a lot more advanced now. Even the mouth guards are more advanced now. So it's a little bit safer. Women's football plays at about half the speed of men's football. So even when you're hitting somebody's body, you're not doing it as fast as the professional men are. And the bodies they're not solid muscle like the men. So it's not as common in women's football, but we are very cautious about it. And we will pull players even if we suspect they might have a concussion or if they just seem out of sorts. So we're very careful about it.
I thought, Mike, when you started saying the controversy in men's football, I thought you were going to ask about kneeling during the anthem.
That's what I thought.
Has that come up at all, or you know, what's kind of what have you seen in your league?
Well, I mean, this came up a few years ago when Colin Kaepernick started kneeling. We had some teams in the leagues that were kneeling, partial kneeling. Some players weren't kneeling. We asked our team to do something as a team. And if they all wanted to kneel, we were all going to kneel. And if they all wanted to stand, we were going to stand. So our team chose to stand with linked arms. That's what we chose as a team, because we felt like whatever we were going to do, we wanted to do it as a unified front. Now it's a little different. And I think when we come back to it, our league has been really big supporting Black Lives Matter. Our team has been really big supporting Black Lives Matter. So I think when we come back to actually playing, you know, the first controversy is, do we even play the national anthem anymore? Then the second controversy is, do we kneel? I mean, I'm not going to stop any of my players from kneeling if that's what they want to do. And I will kneel right next to them if that's what they choose to do. I hope we do it as a team like the NBA has. But again, you see one or two players that still won't do it, and that's fine. I think we just need to support what each other's doing. But I think it's definitely going to come up. We don't play until April. So by then, who knows what's going to happen. And I'll give you guys an update when that time comes. But I think as the CEO of my team, I fully support it, and we'll kneel right next to them if that's what they want to do.
Awesome. I feel like we should ask, like, technical what's your favorite play? What's your favorite position? What's your favorite practice drill? I don't know.
Wow, you're really trying. Look at you. It's so sweet.
I don't know. I'm saying say technical things so that people that like football will actually hear things that they want to hear.
Well, I played linebacker because I think it's the best position on the field. And again, it's because you're the one that has to figure it all out. So you're the one that gets the first hit and the hardest hit. So linebacker, and any blitzing that the linebacker gets to do, you know, when they get to jump that snap and get in there and make that sack, that's a great feeling. I love that. I can talk technical all day, but I don't want you guys to glaze over.
Jump that snap. I think that's, like, the fact that you said that, like, we've got our technical football points. That's all we really needed.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Before we go to the break, I'm interested in What didn't we cover? What should we have asked you? What should we have talked about and didn't?
Oh, wow. I mean, anything about me is amazing. Because Becca's not here, so I can say whatever I want.
Do you and Becca get competitive, given you both play football?
We are very competitive. Against each other, no, because we play two very different positions. She was a defensive end and a long snapper, and she played on the line. And I'm a linebacker, and I play a skilled position. So not that she's not skilled. She hates when I see. She hates when I say that. Oh, but
this is the time to do it. She's not here. Talk shit about her.
Yeah, I played a skilled position.
Where the real work happens.
Yeah, yeah. But we are both very competitive. Yeah.
Kyle.
Yes.
Should we take a break?
Yeah,
where we're at?
Let's take a break.
We talked about all of the football that there is to football.
Sure.
I mean, per usual, this is a big subject, and I'm sure that we'll be coming back to it. Yeah. So, but yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break. Where's my whistle?
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So, are you ready, Kyle?
Yes.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We are going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest. But first, Cyndi Butz-Houghton, where can people find out about my gay life and anything else that you want to show us?
Whoa. Anything else you want to show me, we'll talk about later. But as far as the podcast, mygaylifepodcast.com. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify. You can also like us on Facebook.
And we talked about it a little bit during the break for Patreon. Where can people find out more about your team?
We are the Seattle Majestics, so it's theseattlemajestics.com, or you can go to WNFC Football. That's WN as in Nancy, F as in Frank, C as in Cindy, football.com. And that's the league that we play for, and that is the best league there is. They also have WNFC TV, so you can subscribe and learn about the players on all the teams. They're doing a great job just getting everybody out there.
Awesome. Thank you. You can learn about our players at gayishpodcast.com.
You can get all of our social media at Gayish Podcast. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We have a Discord and Instagram.
Yeah, and our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
Although no one will be the dildo bike painting that your mom sent, so don't even try.
Yeah.
So, Gayest and Straightest?
Yeah, let's do our Gayest and Straightest. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, great. So the gayest thing about me this week actually is our Discord server. So there's like 650 people on Discord. And we've started just kind of randomly hanging out in the voice channel. And like sometimes it'll be a handful of people here, a handful of people. We had like a dozen people with their cameras on, all just hanging out randomly last week. And it was real gay. It was real gay. It was real gay.
I saw stuff about that and I was like, why do I feel left? Like, I don't know what happened. There was like, I was trying to piece together who was what. And I was like, what thing did y'all do? But yeah, I'm trying to get myself back into Discord.
Mostly just brazenly hit on each other from afar.
Oh, fun. Okay.
But Dan would have been disappointed there were no dicks involved. The straightest thing about me this week is that Seattle has announced that the name of their NHL team is going to be the Kraken. And even my little gay heart is just super, super excited about hockey coming to town. And that's definitely my straightest of the week. I actually want to go to a game. I'm pretty sure the Key Arena is going to now be called the Crack House. And but yeah, my excitement for hockey, my weird excitement for hockey. That's my straightest thing this week.
Man, I didn't think about it, but my gayest could have been my total and utter lack of interest in that. But no, my gayest is actually, I bought this like foot scrub exfoliator kind of thing. So I know I haven't used that. I don't feel like straight dudes care about their feet. At least not stereotypically. So
not the ones I used to date. No.
And my straightest is, look, I mean, yes, I like dudes, but I was like walking behind this one that like just had a great booty, and I couldn't not notice it. It was looking at me first. So just because you're gay doesn't mean you don't see attractive people.
True story.
I agree.
Butts, what about you?
All right. Well, I'm going to start with my straightest thing this week.
Okay.
I have a slight addiction to the Hallmark Christmas movies. So when they air nonstop during the Christmas season / holiday season, it's Christmas season on Hallmark. I'm glued to my television whenever I can be. I'm literally sneaking away from my toddler to go watch a movie. And they aired some in July. It's Christmas in July, so they've had about 3 weeks, and I can't wait to go to bed so I can put the TV on and watch a Christmas movie. And working from home has been amazing because I can have it on in the background, and I love it.
You must be a big fan of like Melissa Joan Hart then. Isn't she in all of them?
She's not in as many as you would think. Lacey Chabert and Candace Cameron Bure.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Those are the 2 stars.
Okay.
And they're fine. Whatever.
Fine.
It helps me. And I think my gayest thing, something you guys got to know about me. If we're going to be friends, I'm assuming we will be. Who knows? I have an obsession with Melissa Etheridge, which is very cliche. But some weeks it's more intense than others, and I can put a song on and just start to the tears. She just speaks to my heart. And even my daughter, who's 4, knows to just walk away when she sees Mama listening to Melissa. Just walk away, girl. It's not going to do you any good. So that's my gayest thing.
You Etheridging out, I call it.
Hardcore, yeah.
If you want to come to my window, you can serenade me. It'll be great.
Okay, but I won't sing that song because I won't hurt her music like that. Not with my voice.
That is it. A special thank you to Cyndi Butz-Houghton from My Gay Life podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I had so much fun. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah.
And with Becca, maybe.
Yeah.
And thank you to Fintan Warfield for being fine as fuck.
I don't know who that is.
That's the Irish guy that I just talked about in the news, Kyle.
Oh, right. That was so long ago, Mike. That was at least an hour ago. So I've already moved on. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Well, that's it. This has been Gayish. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you. See you next week.
See you next quarter.
I have one. I can get you a whistle.
But the only time I used a whistle was when I was a drum major. So it's like the opposite of the sports. Like
I thought you were going to say when I was in the clubs. Blow my whistle.